Hi, this is Ryan with Salesforce. Thanks for hanging in with us. We are about to get started. We were just waiting for a few people to join the webinar, but we are going to kick things off. So give us 1 second while we set up the GoToWebinar really quickly.
Oh, that's what was happening.
All right. So, really quickly, what we're going to do is kick things off. The purpose of this webinar today is to really highlight how you can run customer service on Salesforce. I'm Ryan Lester. I am a service account executive, and I'll introduce her in a minute. But with me is Michelle Lee, one of Salesforce's service solution engineers as well. Really quickly, before we even get started, just make purchasing decisions based on what's available today. And again, our introductions. My name is Ryan Lester. I'm a service account executive. And with me is Michelle Lee. Michelle, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. If you're on Pacific time here, I'm a solution engineer at Salesforce and I specialize in our customer service products. And before joining Salesforce, I was actually a customer service program manager at a hardware startup in Silicon Valley. And my responsibilities included building self service tools for customers and working with our call centers to improve efficiency. And at Salesforce, I was actually an implementation consultant for about a year helping our new customers transition onto the Salesforce platform. And today I'm really looking forward to sharing some of those best practices with everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. And to set a really quick agenda for today, what we're going to do is I'm going to highlight kind of what's new and what you have access to with your current licenses. You're going to see a little bit about Service Cloud and how it can be really impactful and why Salesforce and Service Cloud is a market leader. And then Michelle is actually going to walk through a demonstration of Service Cloud and the new features you have access to. Just a quick note, feel free to ask questions along the way. We'll get to a few of them at the end. Since there are almost 200 people on the webinar, we probably won't be able to answer every question. But what we'll do is if you do have a question and we don't get to it, we'll put you in contact with your Salesforce account executive and they can reach out to you and help explain anything that you need. And without further ado, what I'm going to do is highlight some of the changes for our existing customers. And all of you should be hopefully existing Salesforce customers. So, a quick note, all of you should be aware Salesforce has three major releases every single year. And May 1st, we actually, as a company, change our pricing and packaging. What this means is our existing Sales Cloud and Service Cloud users now have access to both sales and service, no matter what your license is, either Salesforce, Sales Cloud, or Service Cloud. So it's like you get an extra release. And I'm going to highlight on this next slide what that extra functionality actually means for your company. So I realize there are a few different Salesforce editions, but the three I want to highlight are Professional, Enterprise, and Unlimited. So for our Professional Edition customers, you get access to a service console, which Michelle will walk through. You get access to entitlements and SLAs, a lot of really cool productivity tools that Michelle will highlight. And when we step up to Enterprise Edition, you get access to multiple teams working within the tool with very complex workflows. You get access to more channels and a little bit more functionality. And for those of you on our Unlimited Edition, we throw in a few extra things like knowledge, which is the ability to create and edit content to share internally. You also have access out of the box to Live Agent, which is Salesforce's chat tool. Michelle will highlight some of these during the demo, but if you really want to dive into the specifics on what all of these mean, definitely reach out to your account executive and they can walk you through how these can help your business based on kind of your requirements and what your team's workflows are. But really quickly, before we even get into the demo, I just want to highlight a few things about Service Cloud and the Salesforce platform as a whole. So, where I want to start is all of these circles right here represent different parts of your business that you can run on Salesforce's platform, from marketing to sales to service to analytics to communities and apps. All of these things can exist in one central place. So, no matter how your company changes or your environment that you're operating in changes, you have access to a really dynamic suite of products, and all of that can run on one platform. And that's where Service Cloud comes into play, specifically for your customer success and customer service teams. And where we see a lot of customers coming from is, an era of desktop computing, your data is in very disparate places, it's not connected, and your customers more and more are expecting this connected experience. You see things that didn't even exist a few years ago: smartwatches, connected toothbrushes, and all of these things are generating data points and ways for you to interact with your customers. And Service Cloud is just another way for you and your company to interact with customers where they are, to make them get help when they need it and where they need it as easily as possible. Don't just take our word for it, though. Service Cloud and Salesforce as a company has been ranked by Gartner and Forrester as leaders in our industry. Also, you can see our product leadership ranked year after year as a leader in this space, both in service and in other areas of our business. But all of these awards are just representative of the success that our customers experience. You can see some of the examples here on the right with Activision, Symantec. Obviously, these are some very large, successful customers. But across the board, from the smallest companies we work with to the largest, these are just powering our success as a company. And you can see here on Gartner's Magic Quadrant for 8 years in a row, this was announced about 2 months ago, Salesforce and Service Cloud in particular has been ranked as a leader in our industry year after year. And one last thing before I kick it off to Michelle, all of these things, like I was mentioning, based on data from almost 5,000 customers across the spectrum, from manufacturers to retailers to small business, all the way up. All of these things we're going to talk about today, and Michelle's going to demo in about 1 minute, are all leading to increased customer retention, increased agent productivity, and all of this just really translates into more revenue for your company and increased customer satisfaction, which is nothing but a good thing. And the features that Michelle's going to highlight is how you do all of this in a very personalized, smart, and quick way that can innovate with your business as it changes. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Michelle to start conducting the demo.
Perfect. Thank you, Ryan. And I'm just going to get set up here. All right. So I'm really looking forward to showing everyone how to take advantage of the features that you've now inherited on Service Cloud at no extra cost. And today, we'll walk through the customer service experience starting by submitting a case online, and then looking at service through the lens of an agent or someone who's answering the cases in Salesforce. And then we'll be looking at how upper management can really take advantage of having all the different data points in Salesforce, whether it's sales, marketing, or service. Okay. Now, let's start with that customer-facing portion. So here you see on my screen, we have a company, Cirrus Technologies. They sell headphones, speakers, and projectors. And I'm a customer of Cirrus Technology. My name is Larry Baxter. And today I'm going to submit a ticket online. So I'm going to come to their support portal. I'm going to go ahead and contact support. And now I'm going to log a ticket. As a customer, I recently bought a projector, but I bought another model from Cirrus and I needed to return the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and select a projector. I'm going to say that I need to return the product, and I'll ask for some help. And then now I'll go ahead and submit that ticket. Okay. Now that's really the customer facing portion of it, and it shows us how we can create, a case from within Salesforce, and you can use, for example, the community here, but you can also use other channels like email, phone, live chat, social media, etc., to create cases in Salesforce. Okay. Now we're going to switch over to the user or to the salesperson who's actually interacting with these types of cases. And the view that you're seeing right now is probably one that you're very familiar with. You start off on your homepage, and now we're going to look for our customer, Larry Baxter. I know that he's actually an account here, so I'm just going to navigate over. Okay. And then I find Larry Baxter. And, Salesforce is really the place where you store all of your contact account information and really, a great place for you to run all of your sales and marketing. So as I look through Larry Baxter as a customer, I know that he works in Santa Monica. I know his individual finances. And I also see the opportunities that Larry has. This is probably, a feature of Salesforce that you use very commonly. You can see the campaign histories that Larry has been touched by. So on the marketing side, you can see what's going on with Larry. Some of you may even be using assets, so you can track what Larry has purchased from your company. Here I can see that he's purchased the earbuds and a projector called the Offsite. And now, as I scroll through, you can also see how you can have customer service on Salesforce included with all this sales and marketing information. So Cases is a place where you can keep track of all the customer inquiries, and just like sales and marketing, they show up here on the contact record. But additionally, because you've inherited these new features, you have the ability to use things like entitlements, which is very similar to a service contract, and even track the different CSAT scores that your customers have submitted for you. Okay. Now, this view is the sales view that you're looking at. And with the new, changes in the licenses, what you've inherited is the Service Cloud Console, which is a tool that allows you to be more productive in getting back to your customers and ultimately keeping them happier. So let's go over and have a look at the Service Cloud Console. And the way that I would do this is up at the top corner here, just like I did before, I can go to my different applications, and this here is a Service Cloud Console, and everyone on this call today should be able to, access the Service Cloud Console even right now as we speak. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and navigate over to the Service Cloud Console. And really, the console is just a different way of viewing all of the different, areas that you visit in Salesforce. So right now, I'm on the home page, but you can see here at the top, I can also access my accounts, my contacts, just as I did in the other sales view. Because we're talking about customer service today, we'll navigate to the cases. Okay. A really important thing to keep in mind is that the Service Cloud Console is the way to extend your Salesforce platform and functionality, and I'll show you a little bit about how you can accomplish that. So you can see at the bottom footer here, we have many different tools that you can extend your platform with. A very common tool that's very helpful in customer service is extending the phone. Okay. So when you connect your phone system to the Service Cloud Console, you can actually take customer service phone calls directly within this view here. So when I simulate a phone call coming in, I see that same information about Larry Baxter as I saw on the sales view. But I've made a couple of changes so that I can quickly see the assets that Larry has, the orders that Larry has, or the opportunities that Larry has on the right-hand side here. Okay. As I scroll through, my conversation with Larry Baxter goes, "Hi, Larry, how's the weather in Santa Monica?" As opposed to, "Oh, Larry, how do you spell your name? Oh, sorry, I didn't get that. Can you spell it again?" Because your phone system is connected, it automatically pulls up Larry's contact record, and you know all the information about Larry, and you can see, the same opportunities, the same campaign history, the assets, and the different cases. And I can ask Larry, "Hey, Larry, are you calling about a case that you have open with us today? Or was there a question you had about your asset? How can I help you?" Okay. So phone is one of the really great productivity tools that our customers love to use with the Service Cloud Console. Another tool that's really helpful that you've inherited now is omnichannel. So omnichannel pushes the right case to the right agent who has the capacity to take the case. So your managers don't need to assign cases to people. Your agents don't need to spend time looking for cases. All they have to do is go ahead and sign in, and then they can start taking cases. Okay. Now here I can choose to accept or decline cases, and I can see that my product return case has already showed up in the agent's queue here. And I'm going to go ahead and accept this case, and I'm going to walk you through how you're actually going to resolve a case using Service Cloud. Now, what you're seeing here is the case view. And the case view is really meant to give your users or your agents all of the information that they would ever need to solve a case and give full context of the customer to that user or to that agent. It's fully customizable. So on the left-hand side here, you can see that I have 3 different components. I've chosen to display the case details, so I can see the status of the case, the priority, I can see the particular asset that the customer is calling about, and I can even show my back-end e-commerce system right within the console here. So this means that I don't need to navigate back and forth in order to process a return, because I've integrated my back-end e-commerce system with the Service Cloud console. I can do everything within this window. And the setup is really component-based. So if I wanted to, for example, get rid of this, I can go ahead and do that. Really, this view is optimized for your agents, and you can choose to add things or eliminate things. Okay? Now on the right-hand side, on the top corner here, you see Milestones. And Milestones is another feature that you've inherited with the new licensing. And Milestones is really a way for you to get back to your customers in a specified amount of time. So for Larry, I want to propose a solution to him within 24 hours, and that's my first milestone. I can have a second milestone in this, chain of sort of SLAs. And my second milestone might be, I want to resolve the case within 3 days of Larry submitting it. Okay. Now you can have different kinds of milestones for different customers. So for example, my platinum customers will have a 1-hour response time, whereas my silver customers might have an 8-hour response time. These are fully customizable, and you can even have warning actions. So for example, when a milestone is about to be violated, send an email to the manager, or post a chatter post to the agent or the user who's working on this case. Now, another feature that is available on the platform is knowledge. And knowledge is really the backbone of customer service on Salesforce. Knowledge is, articles that help customers solve their issues. They can be internal or they can be external. And because they're directly within Salesforce and within the console here, you don't have to switch to a different application like a Microsoft Word document to look at knowledge articles and copy them over. They're right here on the right-hand side, so you can easily create a knowledge article, as you can see right here, or you can actually just access the knowledge articles right within the console view. Now, in the middle here is the case feed, and this is where everything happens with the case. So you can see when the case was created, what time that happened. If you expand on it, you can see different details about this particular case. You can see that the system has sent an auto acknowledgement to the customer, and any other updates you make show up in this case feed view. You can also add these quick actions at the top to help you be more productive in the work that you're looking to do. So we see here that Larry Baxter, our customer, has a question regarding a product return. So I'm going to show you how you can respond to Larry without ever having to type a single word. Okay? We're going to navigate over to the macros, which is another feature that you've inherited as part of the Service Cloud console. And macros are really one-click, multiple action productivity tool. So let's go ahead and look at the product return macro. This macro is programmed to open an email action, search for a particular knowledge base article, send the email, and then set the case status to waiting on customer. So as an agent or a user, all I have to do is run this macro, and you can see in the background that an email is being sent, an article is being found, and all of this is now being sent off to the customer. And as a user or as an agent, I'm actually done with responding to a case. So what might have taken me 15 minutes in the past is only taking me 1 minute, which means that my customers get faster responses. They get very consistent responses because they're using a knowledge article. And, I can actually work on 10 more cases within that 15 minutes of time that I used to take in terms of answering a customer question. So hopefully you can see how the Service Cloud console is packed with features for your users or your agents to leverage so that they can quickly get back to customers. Now we're going to quickly switch hats and wear the hat of a manager that's working at Cirrus Technologies. And as a manager, what's really important to me is my data. So I'm going to go over to the dashboards here. And because you're using service on Salesforce, all of the data in your customer service organization is reportable, and you can take advantage of all the out-of-the-box pre-configured dashboards that comes with Salesforce. So right now, I'm looking at the Service Executive dashboard, and with this dashboard, I can easily see what my first contact resolution is, average handle time, all of the metrics that are important to helping you run a really robust support organization are available to you. And as I scroll through, you can see that there are really a lot of different metrics that you can take advantage of. I can even see individual agent performance. And if I ever wanted to drill into a report, like for example, this customer satisfaction, I can go ahead and click on that report. And then I can see all the different data points that make up that particular widget that you're seeing on the dashboard. Now let's go back to the dashboard for a sec, because in customer service, not only the customer service manager is interested in customer service data, there's many different stakeholders within your organization that can be interested. So let's take a look at the CEO dashboard here. Okay. Your CEO is really interested in all the different lines of business, whether it is marketing, whether it is sales, or whether it is service. And because you're running customer service now on Salesforce, your CEO has access to customer service data. So as that individual goes to the dashboard, they can see all of the customer service along this right-hand side here. Okay. And what's really great is now you can actually marry two different types of data together. So if we take a look at this widget here, you can see account value versus service cost. So this is really looking at your sales information versus your service information. So here I can see that Greenfields is my top spending company. But what I'm spending on service is quite low, which is, probably a good sign. We're being efficient. We're being really productive with our resources. But Advanced Company, on the other hand, doesn't spend as much with us, but we're actually spending a lot of money on supporting this company. So as a CEO or as a service manager, I'm probably going to dig into this count and have a look at why this is happening. And perhaps I've actually identified a really good opportunity to upsell the customer on, maybe a better service contract so that they can access more customer, service resources. So hopefully this has showed you how, having customer service on Salesforce can be a more productive endeavor with our Service Cloud console. And also having all of your data in one place really gives you that 360-degree view of the customer. Your salespeople can see what's happening on the service side with cases, and your service, individuals can see what's happening on the marketing and sales side of it. Now, I wanted to end sort of the demo portion by showing you how some of our customers are extending, Service Cloud beyond just using the Service Cloud console by taking advantage of our communities feature. And Disney is an example of one of the customers that's doing so, and communities allows you to provide self-service to customers like knowledge articles, but it also allows you to engage with your customers and also your customers to engage with each other through self service. You really get to cut costs and you provide a great customer service experience. But through things like discussions and groups, you really get to engage your customers and learn more about them. And as I scroll through, you can see how Disney has really taken advantage of the Salesforce technology, but branded it, completely Disney-like. And another company taking advantage of communities is Symantec. And as I scroll through, you can see that there's a lot of self service here. I can search for articles, but I can also engage in forums and customer discussions. So if this is something that you're interested in learning more about, please do reach out to your account executive. So that concludes the demo portion for today. I'd like to thank everyone for your attention, and I'll pass it back to Ryan.
Thank you, Michelle. And we're getting a lot of questions, so hold tight. We're going to get to a few of them in a second, but that concludes the demonstration. Really, the most common question we get from here is, now what? What do I do? How do I set this up? How will this help my business? And a few things. We're going to share a recording of this webinar and this slide deck with everyone who registered and attended. This resources page will include videos on a lot of the features Michelle talked about. Also, it'll include Trailheads, which is the Salesforce kind of training ecosystem, so you can learn more about how to set this up and configure it. If you do have questions on how to configure these things and what next steps should be to take advantage of all of these, definitely encourage you to reach out to your Salesforce account executive, and they can educate you in even more depth. And before we get off, I'd like to address a few common questions that came across in the chat. And I've had this conversation with a few of my customers, so I'll just start at the top with one or two of them. So the first question that came in was, can I start using these features today? And the very short answer is absolutely. Everyone on your account can start using these features today, whether they're sales or service. And to that point, I kind of just alluded to it, but another question that came through was, does everyone on my account have access to Service Cloud today? So I know there are a lot of different license types in the Salesforce ecosystem, but as long as you have a professional edition, enterprise edition, or unlimited edition license, all of those people will have access to Sales Cloud and Service Cloud today. That does not apply to anyone with Force.com licenses. And a related question that came through is, what happens if I add new licenses to my account? So assuming you stay on the same edition, professional, enterprise, unlimited, if you just keep adding licenses, let's just say you have a new employee start in a month, when you provision that person a license, they will have access to Sales Cloud and Service Cloud functionality as well. And the last question I wanted to address before we got up is, can you start using Knowledge today? As we alluded to in the demo and previously, everyone who has unlimited edition licenses has access to Live Agent, which is our chat, and Knowledge today. For people who are on enterprise or professional editions, that's definitely something you can add to your account. We would just encourage you to reach out to your account executive to help you understand what's required to add that functionality. And again, a lot of this is explained in Trailheads, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. It's our training ecosystem, and the resources on how to access these trailheads are on Salesforce's public website. You can search for it as well using a search engine, but we'll share this slideshow with everyone who registered and attended. And we do really thank you for your time. We thank you for being longtime Salesforce customers. And we really hope you can find some really great value in this Service Cloud product. So Want to thank Michelle. Want to thank everyone else who made this possible. And that concludes this webinar.